Hello. So let's let the timer tick and tick and tick and tick while Facebook catches up and realizes we're live and sends out that notification to everyone. And then we can start to welcome people into the Green Umbrella live lunch, which I've just had the notification now on Facebook. So hello world. Hello and welcome to the Green Umbrella live lunch. We are just a few minutes later than advertised than expected. Which whose fault's that, Kim?
Technical difficulties, actually. Thanks.
Yeah. So sometimes there is a blip in the tech, which is just this stuff happens. But we were cool. We dealt with it. It was all good. No swearing.
Nothing
panicking.
throws us off.
Yeah, nothing got thrown. Absolutely. But yeah, here we are. And it's just typical that it would happen on a week where we have a fantastic guest with us. So Zoe Brinn, welcome to the Green Umbrella Live Lunch. Thank you for joining us.
Hello. I was going to look behind me then to see who'd come in as a guest.
So you're part of a network that I'm in, which is actually a social thing more so than a business thing. Let's face it. I keep telling them it's business, but really it's
you told me that it was business.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
So Zoe, introduce yourself, because a lot of our audience will have no idea who you are or what it means to be a conscious leader. So yeah, give us the elevator pitch.
So I don't have a traditional elevator pitch, and one of the reasons I don't is because I'm conscious of what I do, and that's part of my niche, I suppose. So I'm a conscious leader, and I market myself as the conscious leader. There are only a few people who I kind of put themselves out there as conscious leaders, although many of us use aspects of what I do in their everyday leading. Some people are naturally kind of leaders, other people not so naturally. And it's not about whether you have just got it or not, or whether you can are good at communication or not. It's about you consciously finding the areas that you need to work on as a leader. So work on yourself, consciously finding your team, and then consciously doing the right things with regards to society and the planet. So there's a few different elements to the consciousness side of leadership. So my background is in school leadership. And for those of you who don't know, there's not a lot of conscious leading in school leadership, even though they do a lot of it with intention. It's not quite the same thing. So my background is in teaching and leading. I was an assistant head for a few years, and basically what happened to me in that situation, where I didn't have people who were leading me very well, has led me to want to change the shape and the face of leadership within businesses, so that we can make society and the workforce and the planet a better place to be.
Awesome.
So yeah, that's me.
I love that. I love the variety in what you do, the fact that you don't just attack it from one angle, which is, I mean, the reason Zoe is joining us today is that a couple of months ago, an article popped into my inbox, and it was all about how can, in fact, I literally dug it out 5 minutes before we were supposed to go live, and it was like how marketers can lead the way to net zero, and obviously with, oh god, this is like the longest URL, but I'll put it in there anyway. Kim, we can edit that later, can't we?
Yes, we can.
So it's like, how can marketers lead the way to net zero? And I'm like, obviously we're thinking about sustainability, then that sort of stuff. I know that's part of what Zoe does. But then we've also had another couple of shows where, like we had Jodie Fletcher come on, who's all about sort of promotional products and merch and that kind of thing. And we talked about we kind of tapped into sustainable products at that point as well. But it is sustainability from a marketing perspective. It's not just about the products. It's about actually what's happening in the business and how can we promote that message as well. So I thought it was really good to bring you on, have a chat about how we perhaps as a business could be more sustainable, put us through our paces. Everyone knows when we bring a guest on, it's like it's your opportunity to take over and put us on the spot. But then there's also the leadership piece. And at this point, I'd like to say, Kim, congratulations on your 1 year anniversary working with us at Green Umbrella. I'm like,
thank you very much.
Congratulations for surviving it.
Thanks.
For sticking with it. For I mean, you've been a massive contribution. You're a huge support to me specifically, because you are, you know, I joke and when I tell people that you are my carer, but yeah, that
I keep her fed and watered.
It's not
amongst other things. It's not just that, but yeah, thank you for putting up with me for so long.
No, we've loved it, but I think this is the thing. When I'm a big believer that everyone should bring their whole selves to work, okay, and that's it, because I think I'm quite likable, but if you don't like me, you're definitely not gonna want to work with me. Like I think it's like if there's a bit that you don't like, you're gonna hate me. It's all or nothing.
And your Marmite.
I don't think
I wouldn't say no. I think you're doing yourself a disservice there. I wouldn't say that you're Marmite.
I just, when people don't like me, they really don't like me. It's few and far between, but you know. But I think because I'm so like, this is how I am. This is what it is. Although my you know, Kevin, my husband, thinks that like I'm putting it all on when I'm like this, but I mean, you both see me in different environments. This is pretty much what you get. So like I said, because of that, I'm like, I'm going to rock up and be me. I want everyone around me to rock up and be themselves as well. So I think, like, for me, that's how I can be a conscious leader.
That's exactly what I was just about to say. So that the first, when I first met you, we had a good connection pretty much straight away, because you are kind of what you say on the tin. Like you said, I met you and I knew that I met the real you. I didn't meet anyone else. Yeah. And so you filter that, or kind of, you know, trickle that down into the way that you lead. So because you show the real you encourage other people to do the same. So they see your bad days, they see your good days, they see your faults, they hear you praising, they see you screwing up your face when you're not overly happy. And because you don't hide any of those things, they're able to do that the same with you. And therefore everyone knows each other better. And if you know each other better, you can work to your strengths and you can support one another. And that's basically how it works, isn't it? Essentially, that's the roots to your business. If you've got a team, knowing each other really well is your first kind of step in making sure that you're all growing together and you're all going in the same direction.
Yeah. Do you know, it's funny, like the idiosyncrasies, the things where you're perhaps not the full ticket, let's say. Like Kim's interview, there is a really funny story.
Oh no! Why? Why do you?
No, it makes me look like an idiot, not you.
I think it makes us both look like idiots. So I'll tell the story. So I come for the interview, and I thought, this is a bit of me. I'm obsessed with social media. This is for me. So I'm going to make a good impression. So yeah, we sat having a chat, and it was really like laid back. I was really comfortable. And how Christina is now is exactly how she was in the interview. And oh my God, I still cringe. I still absolutely cringe at this. So I'm leaving. I'm getting up and saying, thanks very much. I am buzzing inside because I'm like, I've nailed it. I felt good. Do you know what I mean? I thought, this is where I'm going to be. So I get up and I go to walk out the door. I feel like I'm blushing. And Christina goes, bearing in mind the interview was about half an hour. She was reading through all my stuff. Get to go out. And Christina says, thanks a lot, Joe. See you later. Which is bad enough, okay? Wait, it gets worse. And I then, for some reason, decided to say, it's okay, you can call me Joe if you want to. Like, why? There was just no need for that. And honestly, I just die inside. It was just like, I'll be Joe if you want me to. And I literally walked out of the office and I went, one of those. But yeah, so, you know, she still calls me Joe, but whatever.
You know, but the thing is, it's that I think when you're really, when you live your culture, when someone comes in, it's like they step into that culture, don't they? They feel it. And so we've said, so part of our interview process, I prefer people to come in. We're in an open office. I interview people in the open office. Because if they're going to be the right fit before they've left, they've ended up getting pulled into the banter with everyone else in the room. When they first walk in, it might be a little bit like daunting or overwhelming or whatever. But if they're going to be the right fit, by the time they leave, they're going to be like, they can't wait to come back and be in that office.
And they see that reality as well, not just with like you're saying, with the banter, which is great, but also they see the whole environment. So you know, tucking someone away, giving them an interview and telling them what it's like out there isn't quite the same thing as sitting them in the middle of the room and saying, this is what it's like. You know, you're experiencing it, aren't you? Not everyone in that room is going to hide. If it's not right for Jo when she got there, she'd have known, wouldn't she?
But yeah, I think that was one of the things that I took away from it. Was I've had interviews before where you sit in the desk and it is that, you know, what are your strengths? But it wasn't like that at all. It was very sort of, it was relaxed but still formal, and I got a feel for everyone. And although when I first walked in, I felt like I was on The Apprentice, because I had Christina, the Overlord, Jane, the Queen, and then Jamie Lee, the baby. So I was like, oh, but then, yeah, the conversation just flowed. And yeah, like you say, you definitely get a feel for what it's going to be like. And I just left like, it's really weird. I'm fangirling you now, but I literally left and I was just like, that's like, I felt like it was for me. Do you know what I mean? And I've never had that as a job before. Never. So.
And that's just as important, not for just you to feel like that, but for also Christina to know that you feel like that, because it's, you know, being open and honest. And that was something, even though they're not quite the same, that was in that article, being kind of transparent, and this is who we are. And if you thought to yourself, actually, I'm desperate for a job and I'm going to take it, even though it really wasn't the kind of place I want to work. One, you're probably not going to stay, you know, you wouldn't still be there probably after a year. And two, Christina wouldn't be able to work with you as well as she could do and develop you and grow you in the direction that you want to go in, because there would always be that kind of barrier between you, isn't there? So yeah, so that's a great tip for other people as well, Christina. If you've got a space that you can interview that's open like that, so it's a good idea.
Cool. So the conscious leadership thing then, Zoe, like I said, it is, I know part of what you talk about is how do you bring people into your business, and whether that is employees or service providers, freelancers, that sort of, you know, the sort of building your team in that way. But also it pushes through to, like they said, the article I shared with you was all about sort of, you know, net zero and that kind of stuff. So from a marketing perspective, like I said, we can look at, you know, we'll buy water bottles that made of recycled plastic, or we'll use bamboo, this, that, and the other that has been grown in a sustainable way, and all that sort of stuff. But like, it goes beyond that, doesn't it?
It does. It goes beyond that, because we're forever growing and renewing. Yeah, as businesses, and although you can say, okay, we'll get the water in, we've got our recycling in the right order, and there's a notice up saying, you know, please turn the taps off, or whatever it is. You've got those things, and those things, of course, need to be in place. But at a more like I don't want to say deeper, because I think the whole idea of sustainability is that you do things quite across, so that you've got so that when you grow your business, you're adding value and positively impacting the earth, rather than just going to zero. So rather than just saying, you know what, we're going to make sure we turn the taps off to make sure that we're not impacting the earth negatively. When we refurbish the bathrooms, is there another way? Can we afford to put in a water system that's much more eco-friendly? And that's, I suppose, the difference. Yes, all those surface level things need to be there, of course. But when we are doing something new, or we're getting in, for example, I had this room that I'm in is my office. It's part of my house, actually. It's my office. And when I redid it as an office, because it used to be a storage room, when I redid it as an office, I looked at the most sustainable and affordable ways that I could do it. So I've got, for example, I've got bamboo floor, I've got bamboo desks, I've got vegan paint on the walls. I have my lighting system is eco-friendly. I wanted to get lime plaster. I couldn't afford to get the plasterer, in fact. Yeah. So of course you've got to weigh up things like cost, etc. But when you're growing and you're changing in your business and doing something new and bringing something in, having consciously made decisions, not just based on cost or how far it will grow your business, but also bringing in that other factor of how we can make it more sustainable, it really is the key. So yeah, to keep doing all of those things, the recycling, etc. But are there new ways when you go to update your hosting, for example, for your website? Are you looking at hosts that now plant trees, for example? Are you looking at ways to offset your carbon footprint? Yeah, and things like that. So yeah, and also being transparent, being as open as you can, and being as clear as you can about your goals with regards to sustainability. Because if we're not clear about where we are, we can't be clear about what we're going to do, and we can't have a clear impact on the earth. So yeah, basically, I went off on a bit of a tangent then, but
no, that's cool, because we've had a Paul over on Facebook. I'll just bring his comment up. So Paul has a he runs BuzzCom, the business community. So it's like a networking kind of business that runs sort of throughout Northamptonshire, through into Milton Keynes, sort of over to sort of, I want to say Leicestershire, but I might actually be wrong there. He'll tell me off for not knowing.
And his live lunch #1 fan, of course.
And his live lunch is #1 fan. And he's been on here a couple of times. So for me to actually go, I can't remember which locations now. Anyway, that's not the point. He had a rebrand. And as part of that, he, I can't remember who it was he used, but he kind of measured, like, what's the carbon footprint, offset it all, that kind of stuff. So I think that's, like, there are exercises you can go through, aren't there, where you can go, this is what we're burning right now, and then this is what we, the goal is to.
Yeah, so auditing what you're doing now, it would be your first step. And like Paul said in his comment, he decided, if we're rebranding, how much is it going to cost? How much can we offset? And worked that out in order to be able to go and plant trees, put back into the environment. Yeah.
So where do you start with measuring that? So for, like, in our situation, I mentioned this just before we went live. So we're in an environmental building, which means that it's not like we can say, well, we've used this much electricity this month, or we've, so it's kind of like, when I've looked at different things, Paul's just put the link to Beyond Carbon Neutral.
Cool.
What he used, yeah. But like I say, for us, it's actually quite difficult to be able to sort of say this is our baseline.
Well, you can. There's a few different ways you can do it. So there are free things you can find on the internet in order to help you. We'll ask you some questions and give you a good idea of, say, where you're at. Yeah. Or you could use a specific company and service, as Paul did, and they are able to offer you much more of a detailed view of what you use. So they would have access to things like, okay, so you don't know specifically how much you use, but we know that the building is situated in here and we can get certain information about that building. And overall, there's so many businesses in that building. So let's get our guesstimate. You all roughly use the same amount of electricity because you use it as often as each other, and therefore it's this proportion. So they'll be able to work things out on that. You can do it yourself, of course, but obviously it takes a little bit more time. And because of their skill and their background, they're able to audit much easier than you would find it yourself, and be much more accurate. And then once you've got that baseline, you can see how the things that you can change in order to kind of what we were talking about earlier is becoming net zero. Yeah. So you are looking at getting to the point where you are not having a negative impact on the earth. So if you are using resources that you're putting back, if you are in places that you can change, you change in order to make less negative impact on the earth. That said, I think that this is all great, but I think we need to be thinking more about being net positive as opposed to being net zero. So being net positive means that you're positively impacting the earth as opposed to just staying neutral, which is always good. But also, if you think about it in another way, when you go off and do your audit, just like Paul did, and worked out how much he needed to give back, if you are constantly working to create net positive, you've almost got a bank already of stuff. And I know that that's not necessarily the way to look at it, because we don't kind of like go, oh, look, I've got X amount here, let's use it all. But if you're always in that positive, you know that you're going to be in a really secure position for your next project or your next change. Yeah. So say, for example, you find out where your baseline is now, and you make some changes so that you're close enough to that net zero. When, let's say, you need bigger premises, we're going to go and find something else. There's going to be some energy and some in going to find that place in the first place. Yeah, the research behind it, etc. So weighing all of those things up together is going to be really crucial to you finding out where you're at the moment. Otherwise, we're just kind of grabbing at things and saying, let's do a bit better. Let's do our bit, which we hear all the time. And I don't think nowadays, with the planet in the state that it's in, I don't think doing our bit is really enough. I think we need to do our bit and some.
Also, taking it back to your newly decorated office, vegan paint. I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah.
How ignorant am I?
I'm vegan, so I look for vegan paint. So
yeah.
But yeah, you can get it, and like I said, you weigh up. So it actually comes in, apart from it being vegan, it comes in smaller pots, and you add water to it. So a lot of the paint that you get in these great big pots, but actually a lot of that is just water, because to add consistency. So as well as it being vegan, it was in I can't remember the name of the company that I used. Graph start with graph something. I'll find it. But you buy it and then you add water to it and then you use that, and so it's obviously less what's the word I'm looking for when you post something?
Oh, well, like the
shipping weight or something.
Yeah, so shipping, the carriage, or I can't remember the word. logistic stuff is all going to be much smaller, isn't it?
Yeah.
The actual containers were much smaller. So so it's but vegan paint, yes, it does exist, because lots of paint are either tested on animals, or they contain animal products, because they use things like, well, if you think about glue, for example, stuff that adhesive makes things stick. So
So this I'm going to ask you a question now, and I feel like I'm going against something that you've just said.
That's all right.
The thing is, we've all got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
And I would say that I, as an individual, I'm probably not very sustainably minded.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm not. I'm not conscious in that way.
Yeah.
I'll buy things, and I'll have a paper cup rather than a plastic cup. If I'm at an event, I'll take my water bottle with me rather than using plastic cups.
Yeah.
But that's because that's a habit I've built now, rather than because everything I do. I'm going to be getting the train to London today, and I'm like too hot to go on the tube. I'll probably get an Uber, and then I'm not thinking about because we're having this conversation, it's in my head now going, actually, what is better?
But isn't that what it's about?
But otherwise, I wouldn't be thinking that way. So let's just take our office environment, because if that's the way I am, that's going to go through the business, isn't it?
You're right. You as a leader need to be setting the precedent for your consciousness. So I'm not going to sit here and tell you off. Of course not. I think we all need to be transparent and open to movement. And my life is not perfect with regards to sustainability at all. But I think you as a leader, you need to go on.
Yeah, like what are the looking around the office now, Kim? It's like, if Zoe was sat next to you, like what are the things that it's like, why are we doing that? Why are we doing? Because we need to question things more.
Yeah, I mean, I don't feel like you should put yourself down, because you do send me out to get your lunch instead of taking the car. So
I don't think that quite covers it.
Right, okay, but it's a start.
Does she make you walk?
Yeah, she does. And if I walk too slow, I get beaten with a stick, or a giraffe. We've got fans dotted around the place. Although we don't use them too often. But yeah, the lights are constantly on, aren't they? Even in areas that probably they don't need to be, but they're automatic, so it's like censored. So that's tricky. But
Christina,
we've got a little fridge. Do we need that? For the Prosecco, yes. I mean, for the fruit, yes.
But Christina said something really interesting, which I think that is probably your starting point. So she said, when she was talking about herself, she said that I haven't, I take my bottle with me because it's a habit. Now, if you take your bottle with you because it's a habit, and then you start doing other things because they're regularly, they'll become habits, yeah? So it's getting into the habit of doing things, and that's what it comes down to. Your first step is to create habits in your office, like, do we need this fan? Someone at some point's got to turn off fans, lights, so it's questioning. And I know that you've all got so much on your plate, you don't want to be kind of sitting around going, right, now I've got to think about all these other things as well. But if you do it for long enough between all of you, it becomes a habit. Yeah. So I when we started this live, I just looked like I was sitting in the dark, because I don't generally turn my lights on. I got a lovely door here that's sends some light in, but and I make it a habit of looking at the light switch on my way out the door. I turn them off if they're on. Yeah. So it is about making those habits. And if you've got that, if the fridge is on, is there anything in it?
2 bottles of Prosecco.
I get 2 bottles of Prosecco. Yeah.
To be honest, but this is what I'm saying. So the conscious leader thing, when we moved into that office, right, it's not a million miles away from the kitchen area, right? But we've got a coffee machine in the office. It made sense to have a fridge there. People who've got stuff for lunch, they can put it in there. We can go and get the milk in the morning, put it in there, and blah, blah, blah. And at the time it was like, it makes it easier for everyone because no one needs to go all the way to the kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
But the reality is now everyone, like, we go to the kitchen because you're getting away from your desk.
Yeah, and
It's
I was just about to say that.
Yeah, we've had Molly start this week, and it's like, okay, showing her where the loos are, and it's like, here's the ladies, which is like literally across the corridor from the office. But we're on the first floor, and as I was like, showing where the fire exits are and the rest of it, I was like, these are the loos here on the ground floor, furthest away from the office. I'd encourage you to use these because you get to stretch your legs. You're away from the office, like you're away from your screen. It's you kind of think about it in that way, but then thinking about putting that resource there for the team to make life easier actually it's a positive consciousness there, but a negative consciousness.
Yeah, you're being conscious of your team's needs and the ease that you can give them, the way that you can make them feel comfortable and working in the office. But the consciousness needs, the focus needs to change. So like you said, if you've got that facility where you can go to the thing, there's a couple of things there. One, you've already said, gets you out of the office, away from your screen. Two, if you are sitting at your desk eating, which I don't recommend, but if people bring their lunch back and sit at the desk and they've got to go to the kitchen, does anyone kind of like shout out, "Oh, I'm going to the kitchen"? Does anyone want to bring their lunch up? Then you're creating more of a team. You're creating relationships. Yeah. Is there an outdoor space that you can use, that you can encourage your team when you go for lunch? I don't know whether you go one at a time, two at a time, or you all stop at the same time. But is there a space that you can go outside? I'll grab the lunches from the kitchen and meet you outside, yeah, so that you've got that. So not only does it consciously, you're making a conscious decision about sustainability, but you're also thinking about your team. So I would argue having a fridge in the room isn't, even though you thought about providing for your team, actually you could think about providing for your team in another way by keeping it out of the room. Yeah. So
but keep the Prosecco in the room.
And the coffee machine, I think that's a great idea, Terry. I'm a big coffee drinker. But you can get reusable coffee things now, recyclable coffee things now as well, and reusable ones.
Yeah. Do you know, I did look at the reuse. They don't do them for Tassimo. I've not found any because I did look at that. You can get them for Nespresso.
There's another brand that fits Tassimo. I'm sure there's another brand.
That'll be on my to-do list now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right, Paul's got another. He's put a couple of things. I've brought one up on screen, but just so that people on LinkedIn know. He's also said that, like, with increasing cost of living, particularly utilities, people will become more aware of energy usage and sustainability. Yeah. But he's also said, as you can see on screen, virtual world, it has led to significant reduction in people's carbon footprint. But I think it is we still need to. It's like stuff happens because environments change, like your way of life has changed, which is great. But I think if on top of that we can still consciously do something.
I think that's the difference, isn't it? I think sometimes things work for the better out of chance, like Paul's explanation of the Zoom. I think what we need to do is be more consciously deciding. So if we're traveling, are we using train, Uber? Are we able to walk to places instead of taking the car to get your lunch or whatever? It's about being Kim laughing. It's about being conscious of what you're doing, as opposed to. But I agree with Paul. I think that the carbon footprint has definitely changed because we are now, as a society, we're a bit more virtual, even outside of our businesses. So yeah.
So again, like, because I'm not very clued up on this stuff, like when I think about sustainability, carbon footprint is what I think about. So are there things outside of that that we should also be conscious of, or is that the thing?
I think it is actually like it's a domino effect. So when we talk about sustainability, we think about carbon footprint and recycling and that kind of thing. But actually, I would say that it goes as far into society, and the way we treat others. Because let's say, for example, it might sound like I'm going off on a tangent here, but I'm not quite, even though you're used to me going off on tangents. So say, for example, the way that you treat your employees, and I know that you do really well, Christina, but say, for example, you're having a really bad day and you have a go at Kim, and actually Kim's not really overly happy in her work. She then starts to, her behavior changes. And when her behavior changes, it can have an impact, not just on your team, her mental health, her physical health, but also it can have an impact on the environment. And I know that this sounds a little bit far-fetched, but if you think about Kim now has to take time off work, she might have to drive to more places, she might have to go and see use of resources like the NHS more. You might have to get in someone who's on like temporary supply basis. They might have to travel from a different place. They might have to use their car more than Kim does. So there is a domino effect that happens. We could drain by not looking after our team members and being a good leader morally as well as for our business to grow. We can have a negative impact on the people around us, and they can have a negative impact on the environment. So they could use more resources like the NHS, or let's say, for example, Kim gets more headaches. She starts taking more paracetamol. There's more of those horrible little shiny packages that you can't recycle. There's more of those in the bin now. Yeah. So even though it seems a little bit of a stretch, it does have an impact. Things like choosing to have organic vegetables instead of non-organic vegetables has an impact. It will have an impact. Yeah. So it's not just about kind of like thinking, right, my carbon footprint is kind of the only business idea that I've got to think about. When you think about life choices, your management choices, your leadership choices, they all filter into those, because we're connecting with people and we're connecting with the planet. I was going to ask Christina something about her. So you said about being at home, that maybe you're not quite as sustainable. Do you think that there is a habit that you know that you don't get right then, that you could change easily?
I think I just don't question it. I think I don't. When you think of it, you think of it.
Yeah.
It's then, so like now I'm. So if I think about my day so far, like I washed my hair this morning. Okay, so it's like the product that I use, I don't really pay don't think I've ever really paid attention to whether or not it's recyclable, other than going, can it go in the bin, yes or no? But at the point when I buy the bottle,
yeah,
I haven't thought about it that way.
So there's one change that you could make. One, you could think about the shampoo and conditioner that you use, whether it's environmentally friendly, whether you can recycle the packaging, whether you can switch to, like, shampoo bars are getting much better now. Now, I don't use a shampoo bar. I use a bottle that is recyclable, but I know that they've come a long way since the last time I used them, which just seemed to dry out my hair. So you can kind of like make more of a conscious decision about that. But also, washing out your bottle before you put it in the bin is going to be a habit that you start. So if you say, right, you know what, from now on, every time I put something in the recycling, I'm just going to give it a little swill. don't have to use too much water, obviously, but give it a little swirl to put it in. Yeah. And that makes a much bigger impact than you might think. So you've got you're cleaning out all residue of the thing, making it easy for them to recycle. 2, you're making sure that you haven't got any odd smells, etc., in that recycling, so your bags aren't going to be teared apart by animals outside.
Yeah.
Which also creates a mess that not everyone picks up properly, and might then end up going into landfill. So there's small changes that you can make, just choosing the right shampoo and conditioner and making sure you swirl them out before you put them in the recycling.
Do you know, it's like it's so I was on a call with Mark. This is really ridiculous, so stick with me. I was on a call with Mark this morning, and I was like, is my hair all right? We jumped onto this. I was like, Zoe, is my hair all right? And he goes, is my hair all right? And if you go way back, in one of the first comments Paul makes relates to my hair, and he didn't even know all of that's going on, right? So I'm like, I can't even see it now. Anyway, so it's there on Facebook. Paul's made a comment about my hair. I don't even know what it says.
Nice hair, Christina.
I had my hair chemically straightened. This is I don't know, probably about a year ago now. Okay, probably longer. But I had my hair straightened, and a few months later, probably about 2 months later, there was an article about women with afro hair and how they are doing things with their hair because their natural hair is seen as unprofessional in the workplace. Mm-hmm. And it really affected me, because I thought, my God, I'm contributing to that problem. Because it is, I've got my hair it's not proper afro, but it's that style of hair. It's big, it's curly, right? If I could get comfortable, if I could just embrace and just be comfortable with this crystal tips fuzz that appears, right? I can't put a brush through all I want to do right now is brush my hair, and I can't because it will just but from a sustainable perspective, I'm not contributing to that thing of afro hair is unprofessional because it's wiry and all over the place. I'm not using the chemicals that are essentially being washed off my hair and down the drain. I'm not using the product the product that's in it now. For example, there's not another bit of plastic sat on the side of my bathroom. Mm-hmm. I'm not using electricity straightening it. Because I don't. Can you recycle a pair of straighteners after they've given up the ghost?
You can send them to be refurbished and they can be reused. So there's a company that refurbishes straighteners and resells them at a lower cost. So
I never knew that. But it's if you think just if I could make that check, I've no idea the dye the hairdresser uses when I go and get my roots done.
But there are two things there. Oh, go on, Kim. No, go on.
Saying that you'd love to be comfortable enough to just embrace it. Someone once did say to me, "Bring your whole self to work."
I know. We all have our thing, don't we?
There are two. Yeah. I don't know. There are two things that you missed out on that. So all those things you said were true. If I didn't do this, these things would happen. But there are two other things. One, the chemicals it's not just about the chemicals being washed down the drain. The chemicals, even though you feel that they're on the ends of your hair, they're actually going into your body as well. Yeah. So health-wise, it's not the greatest thing to do. And two, if you didn't, you'd be positively adding to what we see so much nowadays of diversity. So we can't. So when we're looking at diverse teams and making sure that we attract a diverse selection of people into our business, if we've got someone to kind of forefront that, like you with your, I don't care if you think my hair's unprofessional. This is my natural hair. Deal with it. kind of attitude, then you're positively helping people to see, look at that professional, look at that successful woman who doesn't have her hair in the normal professional way. Yeah, so you're positively helping to improve the face of diversity.
She doesn't know what to say now.
That's got to get you over that hump somehow.
Yeah.
You've complimented her. She doesn't take it very well.
I don't.
You know what? I'm just sat here thinking, now that we're talking about it, all I can think is, oh my God, and I've got an extension lead at home and it's got the tablet plugged into it. It's got the Nintendo Switch plugged into it. It's got a PlayStation plugged into it. I'm thinking... But yeah, so it's stuff that I would never have. I mean, I've always thought about it, but I've just been too lazy to, because you say it's convenience, isn't it? Well, I know I'm going to plug it back in, so I might as well just leave it there. But actually,
a lot of our appliances live longer if you run
charge less.
Down. Yeah. So if you run run your phone battery down or your laptop battery down, it actually helps. Oh, long term, it helps to preserve the life of your battery. So
it's funny, is it? You think it's thinking about what are you doing and what are you not doing. I think I always think about what am I not doing to be more sustainable? What am I not doing to help the help the environment? But I don't, like I said, this is first time I really thought, okay, what do I do that I could do differently?
Yeah,
Paul is
and
on
also,
fire.
Celebrate the stuff you do. Yeah. So if you are doing something, I mean, I don't know, actually I could ask, I know that you're happy to be transparent. Have you got a sustainability policy as part of your business? So, okay. So what you can do is you can outline what it is that you do at the moment, what it is you want to do, even without having an audit or a measure. You can have what we do now, what we want to do in the future, and so we do this now, but in the future we'd like to do a bit more of that, and we like to do a bit more, and put it into a policy that your team has, that say, well, this is what's expected when you're working here. This is how we do things. And then what will happen is your team will then say, well, okay, if I'm expected to turn plugs off in work, I'm going to get into the habit of it, and I'm going to be doing it at home. So twofold. Yeah. Celebrate the stuff that you do well as well, so make sure that you're highlighting the stuff that you do.
I just feel like we don't do anything, Kim. I'm sure we do. I just feel like we don't do anything.
Now, why are you putting me on the spot?
What did you say about the water? What do you do? You said something about bottles of water or something.
So we bring out. Most of us have our own bottles of water, don't we? We don't really. It's not like. I mean, I'm not dropping anyone in it, but there may be an office within the building that gets bottles and bottles delivered. Now, I'm not grassing anyone up, but yeah, we all bring our own bottles. We don't buy plastic. So I'm probably just going to keep that for the rest of my life.
I don't know how many times I've been asked what I'm drinking, because actually it's one of my things about the plastic and bottles and water. So I have a filter. I've got a jug that's a filter, not one of these ones with the disposable things. It's one of those ones where you pour the packet into the, what do you call it? It's like a carbon, not carbon, I think of charcoal, proper water filter. It's by Fox, PHOX. It's fantastic. Love it. So I've got one of those, but it's one that's for the whole family. So I can't be going up and downstairs every time I want a glass of water. So what I did was I bought this. It's a decanter. And it makes me feel posh. It's made of glass. Okay, so there's a glass decanter. And I don't know how many times, because I'm used to it, I go like that and people go, what are you drinking? As if I'm pouring vodka into something.
Careful, Zoe's got a problem.
Chris has just put in the comments, like, you know, bottles equal gin. There is gin under my desk. Yeah, there is.
But there are also cans available.
No.
In fact, there's a big bottle of gin under my desk, a can of gin and tonic on it, and a little bottle of bottle of gin on my desk as well, and the 2 bottles of Prosecco in the fridge.
I mean, there might only be 1 bottle of Prosecco in the fridge now, because obviously you're not here today, are you? So.
True. Awesome. So Paul Green, thank you so much. He's been like a little Trojan there in the background, putting all links and things in the comments for us. So thanks for that, Paul. Zoe, we'll wrap it up there. Thanks so much for joining us. Like I said, it's like this whole, you know, sustainability. It's like it's just a word that's been used again and again and again. And when I first met you, and you were this idea of being conscious, we've had so many conversations, you know, over recyclable bottles of red wine.
I was going to say some of which I don't think I remember.
Yeah, I do have a bit of a reputation for sitting with people till very early,
very late at night. Yeah. It's our common likeness for red wine, I think.
But like I said, this idea of consciousness since I met you, which is about December, January time, it's, you know, it just keeps cropping up, and I keep seeing things. So I'm really grateful for you spending the time with us today and sharing some of your knowledge and some of your passion with us as well. So thank you.
Hey, welcome. I've enjoyed it. I enjoyed being in the green umbrella space.
It's been really interesting, actually. A lot to think about.
And congratulations, Kim, on your year.
Thank you. I'm about to drink 2 bottles of Prosecco.
Zoe, where, like, if people that are watching this and they're interested in what you're about and the things that we've covered, where should they be hitting you up?
So I am over most socials. So I'm on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn, and I'm all of them are / Zoe Brinn. I can never point in the right place, spelt like this.
Yeah.
Next week I'm opening a membership. So I've got a membership opening for leaders or potential leaders who want a place to find resources and training and have information about being conscious, not just about the environment, but also about the way that they run their teams. So that's opening next week. So that's all over my socials at the moment as well.
Fantastic. That's awesome. So thank you everybody for tuning in and sticking with us, jumping into the comments and all that kind of stuff. Go and check Zoe out, and we'll be back.
Don't forget the wave.
Next year. Who's going to do a screenshot?
I don't know how to do that. All
right, I'll do it.
Okay.
So next Thursday, 12 noon, we'll be back for the next episode of the Green Umbrella Live Lunch. Zoe, you need to wave to say goodbye because we need to take a screenshot.